Happy Hump Day from the KUOW newsroom. This is Seattle Now. I'm Gustavo Sagrero. Let's get into today's top stories. It's Wednesday, July 23rd. We'll start with some promising news about the Berduin fire and updates on the Bear Gulch fire. The Berduin fire near the Columbia River Gorge is now about 5% contained. It's also still growing after burning a little more than 11,000 acres. So far, it's destroyed 44 buildings and threatens about 1,400 homes. Level 3 Go Now evacuations have been issued for nearby communities, and officials say those orders will likely stay in place for at least the next 5 days. The fire started last Friday, closing Highway 14 and several other nearby roads. Close to Seattle in Mason County, the Bear Gulch fire also continues to burn near Lake Cushman and has scorched almost 800 acres. It's also prompted the closure of several campgrounds and trailheads. Wildfires like those are often caused by drought. There's a severe drought hitting most of Washington, including the Seattle area. Nearly the entire state is experiencing at least moderate drought now. John Ryan reports from Skykomish.
I'm standing on a rock, a small boulder, just big enough to stand on, in the South Fork Skykomish River. The river is low enough that there are lots of little boulders like this poking up everywhere I look. After the driest June in 85 years and not much rain in July either, streams and rivers in Washington are unusually low. Many rivers from the Columbia to the Hoh are flowing at about half their usual volumes for July. That's bad for salmon, farmers, and electricity users. Warmer and drier than normal conditions are expected through September statewide. Pollution-fueled climate change is bringing hotter summers and less snowy winters to the Northwest. John Ryan, KUOW News.
The man accused of murdering 4 University of Idaho students will spend the rest of his life in prison. District Court Judge Stephen Hibbler today handed down 4 consecutive life sentences plus 10 years to Brian Kohberger. Kohberger pleaded guilty earlier this month to stabbing the students during an early break-in at their apartment in Moscow.
Truth be told, I'm unable to come up with anything redeeming about Mr. Kohberger because his grotesque acts of evil have buried and hidden anything that might have been good or intrinsically human about him. His actions have made him the worst of the worst.
During a 2-hour hearing, family members of the victims read statements. There were tears and anger from them. 2 said they forgive Kohberger in part because it helps to bring them peace. Others say they hope he suffers in prison as much as they have. Kohberger declined to address the court. In immigration news, concerns over ICE raids and immigration enforcement have led to the cancellation of the Pacific Northwest Folklorico Festival in Burien this weekend. The nonprofit Joyas Mestizas puts on the event. They say some of the groups that signed up to perform the traditional dance include children who would have had to travel from neighboring states or across the Cascades. Luna Garcia is a co-director for the nonprofit. She says in Mexican culture, when parents commit to an activity for their children, they follow through, even if that means putting themselves in danger.
Parents, especially in our community, will go to great lengths for their kids, making sure that if their dancer wants to dance, even if they think maybe they might be in danger or they might feel anxiety around it, they're going to push through for their kids.
For this reason, the festival was canceled. This is the latest cultural event in the Pacific Northwest that won't happen over concerns about immigration enforcement actions. Organizations in Central Oregon and one in South Seattle recently canceled events, citing similar concerns. Data to back up these concerns, a new report shows immigration arrests across Washington state went up sharply in June. The Deportation Data Project at the University of California says more than 275 people were detained last month. This year, ICE is averaging about 5 arrests per day in Washington. That's an 85% jump from last year. The Washington State Standard reports those numbers are likely an undercount because they include only arrests by Immigration and Customs Enforcement and are not arrests at customs and border crossings. This month, Congress added $170 billion to the budget for immigration enforcement, making ICE the largest federal law enforcement agency in the country. KUOW is also looking at this data. Keep an eye on our website for a breakdown in the coming days. The Trump administration's new 35% tariff on Canadian goods are set to take effect August 1st. Senator Patty Murray is warning about the consequences for the relationship between the state and its close northern trade ally. Noelle Gasca has more.
The country is one of Washington's largest trade partners, accounting for nearly $18 billion in imported Canadian goods each year. Washington also exports nearly $8 billion in goods like apples and airplane parts to Canada.
Having Trump throw a tantrum with these tariffs is really throwing a wrench into our businesses that have operated for decades and throwing communities on both sides of the border into chaos and really throwing our neighborly way of life into jeopardy.
Murray was joined by British Columbia Premier David Eby during a press conference earlier today. Eby says the president's trade war with Canada is forcing many British Columbians to boycott U.S. goods and not visit the country. Noelle Gasca, KUOW News.
In more news from our very own Noelle Gasca, the Seattle City Council is one step closer to selecting a new member to represent District 5 after former council member Kathy Moore stepped down earlier this month. Yesterday, finalists weighed in on how they would tackle homelessness.
All of the 6 finalists, which include former City Council President Deborah Juarez, mention homelessness as one of the top issues the city is facing. But candidates feel differently about what should be done to connect unhoused folks with services and the effectiveness of agencies like the King County Regional Homelessness Authority. Juarez helped create the authority, but she says KCRHA hasn't accomplished what she thought the group could do.
But to be fair, when we were creating it, and certainly after, there's the city of Seattle, and there were outside neighboring cities that were passing ordinances who did not want to be involved because they thought that homelessness and unhoused folks was Seattle's problem.
But Rob Wilson, a senior manager at Amazon, contends the agency hasn't been around that long.
This isn't that many years that we're talking about. I think there's promise in things like the Health Through Housing program and investments there in buying up old hotels, giving people places to stay.
The council is expected to make its appointment for District 5 next Tuesday. Noelle Gasca, KUOW News.
In business and economy news, the White House wants to spur a data center building boom with its new AI action plan. Central Washington has been at that for at least the last 20 years. But the state's efforts to decarbonize could put it at odds with the Trump administration. Monica Nicholsberg reports.
A lot of what the AI plan wants to do is already happening in Washington's Wenatchee Valley. Data center construction is booming, as Microsoft's Lisa Carstetter showed me.
Now we're coming up on our construction site. See the one building, but there will be many more of that big, long, huge building.
Nearby, Helion is about to break ground on the nation's first nuclear fusion plant. And local schools are training students to become data center technicians. But Washington's utilities also have a deadline approaching that requires them to switch to renewable power sources. That kind of, quote, radical climate dogma is singled out in Trump's AI plan. It also says states with too many regulations on AI could risk losing federal funding. Monica Nicholsberg, KUOW News.
Pike Place market leaders say they plan to extend the restrictions on cars longer than initially planned. KNKX Moreau News fellow Nate Sanford has more.
People have been debating banning cars in Pike Place for a very long time. In April, the market started testing the idea with a temporary ban during daytime hours. Emergency vehicles are still allowed, as are pickups and deliveries. The restrictions were initially tied to construction and slated to last through August. Madison Douglas is a spokesperson for the market.
We're realizing that we really need to continue to test and learn and see how the street is used in different times of the year.
Data shows that foot traffic this year is up 7.5% compared to the same time last year. Douglas thinks the calmer streets are playing a big role. Douglas says market leaders are planning to adopt a comprehensive vehicle policy this spring. It's unclear exactly what it will look like, but a return to the days of tourists inching their cars through streets crowded with pedestrians seems unlikely. Nate Sanford, reporting.
The median price of homes that sold this month from within the city of Seattle has topped $1 million, according to RE/MAX Gateway. The realtor's managing broker tells My Northwest News that the median price was actually $1,035,000 as of 2 weeks ago. As for the greater Seattle area, which includes King, Snohomish, and Pierce County, the median price is almost $767,000, the third highest in the country. Year over year, home prices in the area have increased about 2%, even though there's been a decade-long trend of more homes becoming available. Experts say the reason for the increasing prices is pent-up demand for homes and a strong job market. That's all for today from the KUOW Newsroom in Seattle. Our producer is Brooklyn Jamerson Flowers, and I'm Gustavo Sagrero. Seattle Now and KUOW are members of the NPR network. See you.